Okay, for those of you that are just joining in, we are breaking down Not All Diamonds and Rosé parts 5 and 6 by Dave Quinn. Part 5 is about Real Housewives of DC, and part 6 is all about Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and we are going to get into it. Yes, my shirt came in, and I'm going to be in a fab. Oh, thank you, Storm Doris. If you guys have gotten your merch, send me your pictures, please, so I can repost them and reshare them, because I know you look just as cute as I do wearing it. So please share your photos with me. All right, let's dive into it. Part 5 was called Capital Wives, and it was based on Real Housewives of DC. Okay. Not a lot in this first part. We didn't even get into casting. We didn't even really hear about any of the other women. All we really got was the Salahis. So Andy says that he's very proud of Real Housewives of DC because it was the first franchise that was like really interracial. It also tackled politics for the first time, which other Housewives franchises or other shows within the franchise shied away from. But ultimately, it gave access to or in pursuit of the power within DC, which ultimately ended up sinking the show. Abby, who's one of the producers on the show, she says that the show wasn't about fame or money like the other shows were. The other shows were very aspirational. We saw the big houses and the homes and wanted to be part of that lavish life. But in this case, that wasn't what they were going for. This franchise or this show within the franchise was mostly based off of proximity to power, which is what made the White House dinner so valuable to the show. The White House dinner crashing from the Salahis. That's really what this entire chapter or section was about the White House crashing, the dinner party crash. So the producers didn't have clearance to film at the White House, so all they could really get was Mikhail and Tariq Salahi approaching the gates, like getting ready for the White House dinner and then arriving at the dinner party and then getting to the security gate, but they weren't able to get into the actual party. The producers didn't have the clearance that they needed, and they think that this was always part of the Salahis' plan, was to only film up to the gates where they knew they would likely be turned away, and then they can just pretend that they actually attended the White House dinner, even though they didn't actually do it. So production tried to get clearance to film the event, but Mikhail and Tariq weren't on any of the security lists. So they also couldn't find their invite. They couldn't find it. So when production was like, hey, we want to film this event or we want to see how much clearance we can get into the event, all of the security details and all of the people that were running the list were like, we don't really know who these people are. They're not invited, so we don't even know what you're talking about. And this fly, he's like, we're totally invited. We have an invite. And then production's like, well, can we see your invite? And they were like, oh, no, sorry. So anyway, the real person that blew up all of the whole story, though, and actually got the Salahis in trouble is Roxanne Roberts. That may be helpful later. Roxanne Roberts from the Washington Post. She is the one that really blew up the story because she noticed that the Salahis were at the event. She was obviously there with her press credentials, but she noticed that the Salahis were at the event and she thought that that was really weird. And then when she looked at the press releases after the event, she noticed that the Salahis' names weren't even mentioned in it. So they probably didn't even have an invite and they probably crashed the party. So she dug into it, pulled up photos, and was like, wait, but they were here. Here are photos saying that they were here, because obviously Mikhail was posting them all over Facebook, and she's like, oh my God, I'm at the president's White House party. Holla. Anyway, they maintained their innocence, the Salahis. There was a whole investigation into it about them crashing the dinner party, and they're like, nope, we may not have an invite to show, but we definitely got an invite, and you know what? We're innocent. Sorry. We're like Jen Shah, and the only thing we're guilty of is being Shah-mazing. Ultimately, the Secret Service ended up taking ownership for the breach, and they're like, all right, we fucked up, sorry. Brian Moylan's book dives a bit deeper into explaining how they were able to get through. And so basically what they were doing is they would get up to one security checkpoint and be like, oh, we're not on the list. What a coinky-dink. We're supposed to be on the list. And so they ended up... And the security was like, all right, we'll figure it out at the next security checkpoint. I ain't got time for this, because there were a lot of people that they were trying to get in, and so they were rushing it all through. Boom. So they would go on to the next security checkpoint and they'd be like, oh my God, we're not on the list. How did that happen? They let us in. This is so weird. And so the security would be like, all right, well, they let you in. Fuck it. You just go through. We need to get everybody in. And so then they would go to the next security checkpoint and be like, we're not on the list. Oh my God. Blah, blah, blah. So they ended up making it all the way through. The Secret Service just thought it may have been like an error and kept passing the buck on to the next person. I don't believe that they even had a seat at the dinner table. They were only able to get into the reception, which at that point is, I think, where they ended up getting booted out. But it was a whole big media circus, and ultimately the show was canceled after one season. And Andy said, he closed out the chapter saying, when the FBI subpoenas your raw footage, you're not bringing the show back. So they had to cancel it after the whole investigation. And to this day, the Salahis are like, we're innocent. We are the only thing we're guilty of is being shamazing. And Salahi was ready to get Kim Kardashian on the phone. Okay, let's get into part 6. Real Housewives of Living in Beverly Hills. That's literally all they gave us from DC, was just the White House dinner party crash. We got nothing else, but it was a couple of pages about that, which is why we were able to breeze through it. But let's get into the real meat of it all. Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. You're going to find some shockers in this one, all right? This part 6 is called Shine a Diamond. So Andy, shocker, was against doing Beverly Hills, as were a few other of the Bravo executives. They were like, we already have OC. Do we really need to do this? Like, do we really need another franchise? We've already got 4 under the belt. Like, how much are we going to milk this train? And Andy didn't think we needed any more shows. He's like, we got enough. 4 is plenty. It's so interesting that Andy gets so much credit for all of this, but yet he was against all of like the really great ideas that made the franchise so great, like casting Bethany and casting Kim Zolciak on Real Housewives of Atlanta, and like just all of these things. Anyway, surprisingly though, this is an interesting fun fact. You may want to write it down for a note. Lisa Rinna was actually one of the first housewives that they tested and taped a sizzle reel for Real Housewives of Beverly Hills season 1. They approached Lisa Rinna, they taped at her house, she auditioned, they did a whole little sizzle. And they ultimately passed on her because they're like, no, we want real women. We don't want actresses. We don't want celebrities. We don't want anybody that's famous. So then Kyle Richards was brought in, followed by Lisa Vanderpump, and then Taylor Armstrong, and then Kim Richards. And they said that Kyle and Kim were fine because with Kyle and Kim, they like their glory days had kind of already been past them. They, were retired actresses that were living their best life in another realm. Lisa Vanderpump was British. She was funny. She had this larger than life personality. And then Taylor Armstrong was like a struggling young mom who didn't have that same affluence that Lisa Vanderpump had. But, she brought something fun and dynamic to the table, even though they said that in her pre-interviews and when they tested her originally, she was great. But then once the show started flowing, she was like, stale as a glass of water. And ultimately, Taylor brought it. I liked Taylor. I enjoyed Taylor, but they said that there was a lot more to Taylor that we didn't get to see on the show because she really held back from the personality that they got to meet prior to doing the show. And Kim was very particular about her image. Kim Richards was like, apparently they wouldn't allow Kim to smoke. She would like have to go sneak cigarettes off camera, and she didn't want them to catch her because she's like, I'm a Disney girl. And she would always talk about what an icon she was. Even though she was a child actress from like 58 years ago, she was still an icon. And she reminded all the producers, and she couldn't be caught in anything scandalous because she's a Disney girl. Like Lindsay Lohan, she's a Disney girl. Then they ended up casting Adrienne Maloof as Lisa Vanderpump's frenemy because they felt like the formula was still kind of missing something. They wanted to kind of have these two ladies go head to head in the world of Beverly Hills. So they had Adrienne and they had Lisa, and then they had all the other characters that were really supporting characters, but they still wanted something more. They needed something fresh and something vibrant and something, well connected in Beverly Hills, which is when Kyle referred Camille Grammer, who initially was against it, thinking Kelsey, her husband, would be against it because he's a high profile actor. He was like the highest paid actor on television, which I thought was Charlie Sheen, but maybe it's not Charlie Sheen, or maybe Charlie Sheen was in like sitcoms, or maybe this was past Charlie Sheen's prime. I don't remember the exact timeline. I just remember Charlie Sheen was one of the highest paid actors, but apparently so is Kelsey Grammer. But to Camille's surprise, Kelsey actually pushed her to do it ultimately because we now know that he was living a whole other life and he wanted to leave her. And then we got the whole, you're such a fucking liar, Camille. We got that whole moment because apparently in relation to Kelsey, there was a conversation that happened because production says that they like to get all the women together prior to taping for like an intimate dinner that's not filmed so that they can all kind of get to know each other and feel each other out and, you know, sniff each other's butts and do that whole thing. So apparently it was around that time prior to filming when Kyle was in the car with Camille and she's like, oh, so what are you doing for spring break? And she's like, oh, we're going on vacation. And then Camille was like, I'm going, but I'm not going. They're going to film it. And then Kyle's like, oh, they're going to film it. She's like, is Kelsey going? And she's like, why? You think they wouldn't want to film me without Kelsey? And Kyle's like, I was just asking if Kelsey was going. And Camille's like, oh, why? Because you think that I'm not interesting without Kelsey. And Kyle's like, that's not what I meant at all. But like, maybe it's kind of what I meant subliminally and subconsciously. But yeah. And so Camille thought that she was saying that, you know, there was no interest in her without Kelsey. And Kyle was just like, no, I just wanted to know why you would be going on a vacation without your fucking husband. So the season went on. The Camille and Kyle beef continued through the dinner party from hell, which is where we got Allison Dubois and the e-cigarette. And she was just like, your husband will never fulfill you. And we got that whole moment, and that was a hot vibe, and that was going down in history. But then the season really came to a head in the finale when we got the whole, you stole my goddamn house. Apparently that wasn't even going to be filmed. Like they had already wrapped for the night because according to some of the rules, you're not allowed to film on a rooftop after a certain hour, and then they couldn't film in the actual hotel. So Kim was getting a little drunk, and one of the producers was like, let me give you a drink and calm you down. They didn't realize Kim at that point had a drinking problem and that she'd been sober for some time. So they got Kim a drink, they calmed her down, and then they were like, who do you want to talk to? Do you want to be around any of the other cast members? And she was like, well, the only one I really trust right now is Adrienne, because apparently she and Kyle had gotten into a fight prior to that. So then they took her down to go film with Adrienne, but they couldn't film on the sidewalk. They couldn't film on the rooftop. They couldn't film in the hotel. So they had to film within the limo. So they had Adrienne and Kim filming in the limo and talking and kind of just like cooling down. And then Kyle was already fired up and she was like, I need to talk to Kim and I need to see my sister. And she jumped into the limo and she was like, I don't care if this is being filmed. Kim, you're being crazy right now. And then Kim's like, you stole my goddamn house. And then Kyle was like, what did you say? What did you say? She's like, you're an alcoholic. I've said it, and my husband has treated you like a second wife. And then boom, we have the iconic scene, and they're like, don't air it, please don't air it, please don't air it, please don't air it. And then Bravo's like, obviously we filmed it and we're gonna air it. Sorry, girls. And so they aired it, and then it ended up being a very iconic moment. But producers loved how open and free Camille was, but she's the one that took the biggest beating from the public. She was voted the most hated housewife in America. The viewers on social media did not like her, and it was just bad news bears for her, and she got grilled at the reunion. But then we enter Brandi Glanville in season 2, and Brandi Glanville was a firecracker, and the producers loved it because she was going through her messy divorce with Eddie Cibrian, and she was talking to the press about him and calling him a douchebag to all of the press, and the producers loved that Brandi would call people out, and they were just like, yes, we love it. So then we get to game night, and at game night, we see the producers reveal that Kim she showed up and she was already pretty sauced, probably off of some no filter wine. JK, it didn't exist then, but I was going to say I would love to send Kim some, but obviously she's sober now and I don't want to do that because I don't want to create another Limo, you stole my goddamn house moment. Because she's going to be like, you stole my goddamn line. And I'll be like, of what, cocaine? And she'll be like, no, of my line from the show. And then I'll be like, or what? Or what? Bring it on, Kim Richards. Let's go. Let's get it, baby. So apparently she showed up and she had alcohol she showed up like a Dunkin' Donuts or a Starbucks cup. And she's like, hey guys, what's going on? And she reeked of booze and she had booze in her coffee cup. She had alcohol in it, which, oof, girl. But they all insist that Kim was not doing crystal meth in the bathroom all night long. Bitch. She was not. Apparently, she kept going in and out of the bathroom because her mic kept falling and they needed to adjust her mic. But they said that like she was probably on something, but it wasn't crystal meth. And Brandi was like, well, I just thought it was crystal meth because I had just done this sobriety class because I got a DUI and I had just learned about crystal meth and it looked like Kim was doing crystal meth in the bathroom all night long. Bitch. Then we get into Taylor's abuse and this is season 2. So now we're getting into Taylor's abuse, which was wild. And apparently Taylor and Camille had a conversation about it. Taylor says that Camille was one of the only people that she really trusted at that time. And she went to Camille and was like, I need your help because I know you're going through your divorce with Kelsey and I need help because I'm trying to exit my marriage with Russell and I need to make sure custody goes my way and I don't trust Russell and I think he's really going to harm my reputation and ability to be able to gain custody of Kennedy. Now, there was a conversation where Taylor was like, okay, we have to film this tea party at Lisa's house and I want you to make sure that we're honest at this party because I'm going to bring up some stuff and I need you to have my back. And so Camille was like, yeah, girl, I got your back. I got you. And then they get to the party and Taylor's intention was to blast Lisa Vanderpump for not being a very good friend. But Camille didn't get the memo. Camille was like, oh, I thought you wanted me to blast your domestic violence situation at home, not that you wanted me to help you confront Lisa Vanderpump. And so about not being a good enough friend to you. And so Camille thought that, Camille thought that Taylor was asking her to bring up the situation about Russell and not about LVP. And Taylor was like, oh my God, I can't believe she just brought up the stuff about Russell. This is going to be horrible. He's going to kill me because he says he's going to kill me. And it's actually really dark. If we forget how dark that season got. But ultimately it ended up helping Taylor get out. And she says that she was very grateful that it helped her get out of her marriage and provided an element of protection and let all of the cat out of the bag. All of the kitties out of the bag. And production had a hard time deciding on how they wanted to address it and if they were going to address it, but they decided to tackle it head on because they're like, this is what we tell the women. We tell the women to just tackle these situations head on. And so we had to tackle the situation head on, but we had all of the women sit down at the end of the season and tape a scene that would be edited into the first episode where they talk about the suicide and they talk about Russell and Taylor. And then they showed it to Taylor and they're like, look, do we have your blessing to move forward with this? And Taylor was like, you know what? You have my blessing. I think that you handled it very well. And so they ended up moving forward with it. Then in season 3, we got Yolanda Foster and she came in and Brandi finally got upgraded and she earned her diamond and she stirred up the whole pot with Adrian's surrogacy, which they all blame Lisa Vanderpump for instigating because obviously we know that she said something at the dinner party at Sir, and everyone was like, oh my God, I can't believe they said that. And then Adrian and Paul were like, you can't say that. And we now know that it was the fact that Adrian had not carried her children and she used a surrogate to carry her children. And apparently she wanted to hide it so badly that she would even wear a prosthetic tummy, like a fake pregnancy tummy, like the one that Lil Nas wears, one of those. And Taylor would walk around town with the prosthetic tummy and be like, I'm pregnant. Which is very extreme length to go to. Lisa also didn't like, she could have just done like a Kylie Jenner and stayed home. But Lisa also didn't like Yolanda. Yolanda was the newbie that season, but she didn't like Yolanda because Yolanda lived a very lavish lifestyle. She had an accent. She was very charismatic on camera. And Lisa was like, I'm the only, foreign queen bee with an accent. Okay, Yolanda. And LVP really takes a beating in this book. Like if you read all of the things that people have to say about her, they basically imply that she's manipulative, she's jealous, she is very controlling behind the scenes, and they did not have a lot of nice things to say about her. Then at the end of season 3, we had Adrian who exited because she didn't show up to the reunion. We have Taylor who exited because they're like her story had been told and it was just time for her to, move on with her life. And then Camille exited because basically she was going through a divorce and that was the most of her, that was all consuming in her life and they weren't able to film any of it because Kelsey wouldn't allow any of the divorce to be part of it. So yeah. This was also the time that we were gifted with Vanderpump Rules, which the women all say sparked a lot of jealousy. I think all of them except for Kyle say that there was jealousy. Kyle's like, I'm not jealous. I was never jealous. I support my friends. I'm a girl's girl. I support other women. But the producers say that it wasn't so much that she got a spinoff that upset the other women, but it was the way that she would flaunt it. She was like, ooh, look at me. I'm so close to Andy and I'm so close to Bravo and they gave me my own show. And which one of you bitches has your own show? None. Zero, 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 none. Then we had the blip that was season 4 of Beverly Hills, where we introduced Carlton, who was the witch, and Joyce, aka Jacqueline. And this is also when the tide started to turn for Lisa Vanderpump, as the Mauricio flirting rumors were swirling around. And Lisa put the magazines in Brandi's suitcase, and then Brandi was like, "Lisa, you told me to put the magazines in my suitcase and to bring them and to bring it up." And Lisa's like, "No, I didn't, darling." And then we exited the witch in the wardrobe and brought in Lisa Rinna and Eileen Davidson. And Lisa Rinna says that she was cold as ice and her career was really struggling. And she couldn't even get an agent at the time, which was a shocker to me because I thought Lisa Rinna would have at least always had a lower level agent or something. But apparently she couldn't even get an agent. And she was like, I'm going to go to Evolution. I'm going to pitch them on a reality show. And Evolution was like, sure, we'll hear you. We'll hear your pitch about a new reality show for you. And secretly, Rinna was like, but I wanted to get on Real Housewives. And the producers from Evolution, or the casting directors, were like, secretly, we wanted her for Real Housewives. And so they serendipitously just all made it work out together. And then we had Eileen Davidson, on the other hand, who was at the height of her career until Brandi Glanville threw wine in her face. And she said that she cried after that initially she laughed off when Brandi threw the wine in her face, but she was crying in that scene and what we saw on camera because she was just like, oh my God, what is this show? What am I doing? Brandi thinks that I'm a homewrecker. What is this crazy show? And she even told Yolanda, she's like, what did we sign up for? And then we got to Amsterdam. And in Amsterdam, we got the don't you ever go after my husband. And the break of the glass. And let's not talk about the husband. Juicy, iconic, all of it. They all say that Kim didn't actually know anything about Harry Hamlin. Even the producers were like, we've asked her and we've tried to get something out of her and we don't think she really knew anything. We think that she was just trying to poke the bear. But Eileen hinted that there had to have been something there in order to invoke such a strong reaction from Lisa Rinna that there has to be something there. She didn't freak out for, nothing. But the fireworks really came from Brandi Glanville, and as she slapped Lisa, and LVP really made a big stir out of it, and she was telling everybody that she got slapped, and Brandi was like, it was a little playful slap, it wasn't a real slap, but Lisa was like, oh my God, oh darling, oh, where's my life alert, darling? And then Brandi was really upset about that, and she was like, well, fuck it. I guess now I'm off the show now because Lisa's making a big stink out of this whole slapping incident when I didn't really slap her. I tapped her on the face, which was still inappropriate, but I only slapped her on the face. And then apparently Brandi's like, well, I guess fuck it. I know that I'm fired and I know that I'm going out. So you know what? Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. And she told all the productions, you can go fuck yourselves, okay? She can, and, she ended up solidifying her fate by telling them all to go fuck themselves. Andy and the producers and everybody. So then we introduce, it's expensive to be me. It's expensive to be me. Erika Jane. Erika ended up joining the show through Yolanda Foster, who Erika says, not Yolanda, but Erika says David Foster is the one that gave her the best advice. And that was, one day you're great and the next day you're a piece of shit. So you can't buy into all of it. It's a whole different type of celebrity and a whole different type of fame. And you just, if you're going to do it, but don't let it affect you one way or the other. Which I feel like is very true with reality television. 1 week they hate you, 1 week they love you. One season you're the worst, the next season you're a saint. Yada, yada, yada. This was also the year of Munchausen, which Lisa Rinna claims was massaged into her by LVP, that there was a little manipulation going on there. And even Eileen didn't even back up Rinna, though, because she says that it was a really terrible thing for Rinna to do, to question Yolanda being sick, because obviously Yolanda was sick. But Rinna insists that she was making a show. She was making it nice. She was making it entertaining for all of us to watch. And she knows how to make one damn good show. But ultimately, we ended up losing Yolanda. Not to Munchausen, but on the show. She lost her job. And we also had one season wonder, Catherine Edwards. And calling her a one season wonder is generous because there was no wonder there. And after that, we introduced Queen Dorit. And Dorit came in with many accents, and she came in ready. Well, actually, she didn't come in ready, dressed to impress. That came later on. But, she came in with an old nose and lots of accents. I love Dorit. You guys know she's my queen. But the convo once again turned on Rinna when she said that Kim Richards was close to death. She is close to death. And she said that to Eden Sassoon, who was a friend of that season. And Eden Sassoon ended up bringing it to the other women. And it sparked a lot of tension for Rinna, who also then ended up throwing out were people doing coke in your bathroom? And obviously Dorit was unhappy about that. And that created a bunch of tension. But Lisa and Rinna in the book is like, well, you know what? Guess what? One of the producers afterwards ended up telling me that they walked into the bathroom. And guess what? There was a guest and they were doing coke in the bathroom. Boom, mic drop. But I mean, in that world, are we really surprised? I'm pretty sure a lot of people around PK were doing coke in the bathroom. Eileen was then offered a friend of role for the next season, and she's like, no way, Jose, sayonara. I'm not doing a friend of role. Like, I am going to get back to Young and the Restless and Days of Our Lives. But the producers were like, well, we already milked your storyline and we told all your personal stories and there's not much left for you. And she's like, okay, peace. And then we got the bunny at the reunion. And we loved the bunny, because Lisa Rinna gave Kim Richards the bunny as an olive branch. Here's a bunny for your grandchild. And then Kim, and she's like, I brought the bunny. And it has bad juju, even though it's been sitting in my garage or in my back seat for the past 9 months. But I brought the bunny. And here's the bunny. And it was all kind of pointless. I want a damn bunny. But the bunny now hangs up in Andy's clubhouse. Then we enter season 8 with Teddy Mellencamp, and that season was pretty lame. There were not even 2 full pages about that whole season in the book. There were fights over who was late to lunch and who was closer to Lisa Vanderpump. But then we get into season 9, and that's what brought fucking Denise Richards and Lucy Applejuice, which they all claim LVP leaked to TMZ about Dorit dropping the dog off at a kill shelter. I think John, one of the Johns, not John Sessa, but who's the other John? Or maybe it was John Sessa or John Blizzard. I don't know. One of those numbnuts ended up going on a podcast and was like, well, Lisa didn't directly tell us to do this, but we sort of took the initiative to support Lisa and we kind of did this. So whatever, but that ended up leading to the big shebang between Kyle and LVP and the whole goodbye, Kyle. But ultimately, it led to the goodbye, Vanderpump, and the ladies' touch on the visceral hate that Lisa Vanderpump fans had sent their way, which is wild. But if you've ever been on the receiving end of the LVP stands, you know that they are vile. But ultimately, LVP said that she was done, and obviously not showing up at the reunion solidified that and solidified her finale. She was then replaced by Garcelle, who brought a whole fresh energy to the show. I think she brought a youthfulness and just I don't know. Garcelle, I think, was a breath of fresh air when she came on the show. She had a little bit of shade, but she didn't know the game. She was a little naive to how reality TV worked, and she was just fun. She was a lot more fun than Lisa was. Lisa grew stale and wasn't as fun because I think all the women started to turn on her. The show, this was season 10, which was also when the women said that Denise Richards changed, and they said that she became a different person. She was no longer this free spirit that talked about her husband's big dick, but now she was a prude, and she was reprimanding them for talking about sex, even though her husband has a big dick. And she's like, oh, my husband has a big dick, and we have sex every day. And now all of a sudden she's like, oh, my husband doesn't even have a dick. He doesn't even have a dick. I don't even have a vagina. We don't have sex. We don't do the sex. We don't get naughty. I was never in Wild Things. The only wild things I have are my jeans. And my hair. But this is where we also re-enter Brandi Glanville, and Brandi insists that she and Denise had an affair and that they had sex, and then Denise ended up ghosting her. And it wasn't until Denise found out that Brandi was filming again that she then tried to be all BFF with her, and Brandi's like, hold up, wait a minute, you can't ghost me after finger banging me and scissoring me all night long, and then you leave me on red, and you just ghost me and think that, what, you're too good for me? What are you, a fuckboy now? I've already played that field. But Denise ghosted her, and Brandi was sad about it. And apparently Kim Richards is the one that brought it all to light and likely told Kyle and likely told production, which is why they ended up pushing for more of Brandi that season. But However, they say that they went back through all of the footage. The producers went back through all of the footage and they were like, okay, well, let's look and see if Brandi is a reliable source, or if she wasn't a reliable source, then we can play these clips on the show to show that Brandi's not a reliable source. That way Denise can get her story told. But they said that when they looked at everything, they found no evidence in the footage that supported that Brandi was a liar or a not reliable source. That obviously she makes flippant remarks, but that her remarks usually end up being true. They're just terribly tactless, like Kim falling off the wagon, Lisa Vanderpump being manipulative, Adrian having a surrogate, all very tactless, but ultimately very true. So Brandi was more of a firecracker that spewed the truth rather than somebody that would blatantly lie. Did she make flippant comments, like when she told Kyle that her husband wasn't interested in her? Yes, she made flippant comments, but there was never like a deliberate lie that she told, that she pushed forward. Apparently, Denise also hung out with the Real Housewives of Orange County cast, and she was like, ooh, I want you to sit on my face at BravoCon. She was hanging out with them, and she's like, I would sit on my face, Bronwyn. Yeah. Actually, I don't know if it was actually Bronwyn, but she definitely wanted one of them. Maybe it was Emily. Or maybe it was Shannon. I feel like, I don't know, the OC women, I feel like would just suffocate poor Denise. Just because she's like real tiny and she has like a lot of hair and bravo, fucking bravo. But anyway, the women claim that on camera Denise was being one person, but off camera she was acting like a completely different prude of a person. And then we have the reunion that came up, and Denise refused to appear on the reunion if Brandi attended, and she didn't want to create some Jerry Springer moment. That's what she kept saying. So that's why she didn't want to confront Brandi on the show or at the reunion either. So she didn't want to face Brandi, probably because Brandi was telling the truth, and she knew that, and Brandi would probably reveal more intimate details. But anyway, Brandi ended up getting cut from the reunion entirely, and Denise ended up walking. Originally, they thought that they could keep Denise on the show if they didn't have Brandi at the reunion at all, so they cut Brandi altogether, and then Denise ended up walking, so they're like, great, we ended up losing out on everything. We didn't get to tell Brandi's story that season, and we didn't get to keep Denise either. But to this day, she still has not confronted Brandi. She didn't want to. She's not going to do it, which tells me Brandi's probably telling the truth. And then in the end, by the end of the chapter, obviously, we introduce Crystal Minkoff. She's not in the book, but they introduce her as being the newest addition, along with Sutton Strack. Sutton Strack was very, very barely mentioned and didn't even get an interview in the book, which, again, I like Sutton, but to everyone that was like, oh, Queen Sutton, she's taking down Erika. But in the end, the housewife with the final word in the chapter was Erika Jane. And Erika said that, this is a wild ride, but that what an incredible franchise and what an incredible time. She's going to look back on this time very fondly. And that being on TV at 49 years old is incredible. And that it just goes to show that at any age, you can be a pop culture phenomenon. Which, oof. Those words stung. She is a pop culture phenomenon very much now. At, 51? Why would Denise be so offended by bisexuality, bi-curious, whatever? Great question, Alicia. I'm not sure. It is weird. But I guess because, the women say that Denise was trying to clean up her image. That she had a very promiscuous image that she was projecting last season, so she wanted to clean that up. And obviously screwing Brandi Glanville doesn't help the brand. Yeah, I would have thought Kyle would have been the one to close it out, but they gave the closing quote to Erika. The pretty mess. And what a mess it was indeed. All right. That is parts 5 and 6. We dove into Real Housewives of DC, and we dove into Real Housewives of Beverly Hills in Dave Quinn's book, Not All Diamonds and Rosé. Next week will be our final week of Not All Diamonds and Rosé, and we'll be killing the last 3 parts, which I believe are Miami, Dallas, and Potomac. Both of them are very short, so this upcoming Tuesday, we will break down those 3 final chapters. This was an eventful chapter. I'm hoping the next 3 will be as eventful. All right. Shall we do quiz time? Why would they fire the other housewives and not Erika? The writer is deaf biased against LVP. I don't know if I would say the writer was biased against LVP as much as the people interviewed were biased against LVP. I will say, though, that some of the housewives did... Fuck, I need some water. Sorry, guys. My throat is dry. I'm talking all day. One sec, guys. One sec. I'm even going to drink it straight from the tap. Oh, sorry, guys. My throat was dry. I've been talking all day. Because, like I said, I do have a surprise interview coming out on the podcast on Wednesday, tomorrow. But what was I saying? What were we talking about? LVP, Denise Richards, Erika. Erika does bring the drama, and she brings the ratings. Oh, about the writer being biased against LVP. I don't know if I would necessarily say that the writer is biased against LVP as much as the people that agreed to be in the book and shared their perspectives, shared what they wanted to share. Lisa Vanderpump didn't share a lot in the book. She barely gave anything. And even when they would ask her like about puppygate and stuff, she was like, oh, I don't want to talk about that, dear. Apparently, some of the housewives didn't even give like a full interview. They're like, this is how much time I have. This is all I have to do. Like, these are the only questions I'm talking about. Like, Luann was barely in the Real Housewives of New York chapter. And so now Lisa being, hardly in this chapter, I think was more of Lisa's doing. And I think had Lisa been willing to play ball a little bit more, she may have been able to tell her side of the story a bit more, but her quotes were like, I don't really want to talk about it. I'm not going to get into that negativity. I'm not going to get into that. And then obviously you have the rest of the women that are telling that story and the producers that are telling that story. And so they're the ones that get to paint that narrative and not Lisa, because Lisa didn't really want to participate. All right. Shall we do quiz time? Yeah, I agree, Anna. People that don't address their controversies are sus. Makes me not believe LBP. That's right. All right. Shall we do quiz time? Are you ready? All you sucker MCs ain't got nothing on me. Ooh, Kevin G. Okay, let's see. Tonight we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 questions in quiz time tonight. Are you ready? Tipsy and ready. Let's get it. Get it. Get it. And throw them hips, girl. Question number 1 from part 5. Who was the reporter that blew the lid on the Salahi dinner party scandal? Who was the reporter? What was her name? What was it? Goodbye, Kyle. It was not Robin, but you are close. Roxanne. Oh, Roxanne Roberts. Gossip in a Glass got it. Gossip in a Glass gave the full correct answer. Ooh, Storm Doris was shortly behind. Question number 1 goes to Gossip. Okay. Question numero 2. Are you ready? How many seasons was Real Housewives of DC? RHODC. How many seasons did it last before it was finally canceled? Sadly, RIP. Not really. Storm Doris got it. It was canceled after 1 season. RIP in the Housewives history. Question number 3. Who was the first... Question number 3. We're now moving into Shine a Diamond. Who was the first housewife to be taped and put together a sizzle reel for Real Housewives of Beverly Hills? Who was the first housewife that they ever considered and put together a sizzle reel for? That's right, Gossip. It was Rinna. Wow, you guys are on it tonight. Gossip in a Glass is like, I'm coming back, baby. Who was the first housewife that was actually cast on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills? So we know that they were considering Rinna first. Rinna didn't make the cut because they didn't want an actress or they didn't want anybody famous. Who was the first housewife actually cast on the show? Kyle, that's right. L.A. Hale, LaHale. That's right, LaHale, because it hails in L.A., especially in Pasadena. That is correct. It is Kyle Richards. Kyle Richards in the house. Which was interesting because that was the whole debate. Actually, Camille was the last one cast on the show, my boy Ollie. But Kyle and Lisa always go back and forth about which was the one that created Beverly Hills, which is the one that made it happen. And I think the book basically confirms that Kyle Richards is the one that made Real Housewives of Beverly Hills happen because she was the first one cast, and they were originally going to go with E to do a reality show about Kyle, Kim, and Kathy. And then the producers are like, well, you can do that show and good luck. Or you can do Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, which is an already established brand. And if you're going to do it, we need to know today. Because if you do it, we'll greenlight the show now. Boom. Okay, question number 5. Kim Richards did not want to allow them to film her smoking. Why? What does she claim she was? It's a very specific term. And she's like, I can't do that because I'm a... Boom. CeCe Lindsay Lohan. I'm a what? I'm a Disney girl. That's right, Storm Doris. Storm got it. Boom. Damn. We have a tie currently between Gossip in a Glass and Storm Doris. I'm a Disney star and an icon. Not sober. Kim Richards wasn't always sober. But she's like, I can't have you filming me smoking because I'm a Disney girl. Like Lindsay Lohan. On that same note, though, at game night, when Brandi Glanville accused Kim Richards of doing crystal meth in the bathroom all night long, bitch, what did Kim Richards walk in with? She walked in with a Dunkin' Donuts coffee cup, but what was in it? What did Kim walk in with to game night? It wasn't a mic. She didn't walk in with a mic. The mic is why she was in the bathroom. It wasn't vodka. It was a coffee cup, but what was in the coffee cup? It wasn't vodka. Well, I guess we don't know. So I will... Vodka's very specific. I don't know if we should give... Did it say vodka somewhere? It said alcohol. She walked in with alcohol. So I guess... Technically, vodka is alcohol, and we don't know what it was necessarily. So, Giselle, I'm going to give you the point. You're the first to answer. And vodka is technically alcohol, so I will give it to you. We don't know exactly what the alcohol was, but we know that she was pretty sauced when she walked in. Okay, next one, question number 7. In season 3, Brandi Glanville revealed a secret about Adrienne Maloof. What was the secret? She revealed something on camera. And everyone was like, oh, we can't believe she said that. Clench my pearls. Seagrams. Oh, I don't know if it's seagrams. I don't know what seagrams are. That's right, Storm Doris. It was a surrogate. Ooh, Storm Doris is taking the lead. Gossip in a Glass. Storm Doris is leading the way. Dun, dun, dun. Used. Ooh, used. What was used? Derogatory. It's funny when some of these typos. This is before I see it. Spell check. I know, guys. I'm sorry. I tease you when spell check. Oh, Seagrams is gin. Oh, wait a minute. Hold up. Wait a minute. Oh, got it. Seagrams was in response to the last question, but we moved on to question number 7, which was about Adrian's surrogacy. She had a surrogate, and Storm Doris was the first to clock in with the surrogate. Therefore, boom. The point goes to Storm Doris. Okay, question number 8. We're reaching the end, you guys. Storm Doris is in the lead with 3 points. Gossip in a Glass is right behind with 2 points. Do we think Gossip in a Glass can make a comeback, or is Storm Doris going for the win? Let's move on to season number, 6? I think this was season number 6. When Lisa Rinna was talking to Eden Sassoon, what did she say about Kim Richards? Kim Richards is... What did she say? Kim Richards is boom, boom, boom. What did she say Kim Richards is? I want the quote. Near death. Yep. Wow. Storm Doris came to play. Near death, close to death, all both valid. On the verge of death. Yep. Near death. Yep. Storm Doris got it. Great job, guys. You guys are killing it tonight. Not suicidal, Sarah. I don't think that one. I think that one I won't allow that answer because I think that's way off. Okay. Last 3 questions. Oh, I guess we had more than 10. I miscounted. After Brandi and Denise had sex, what does Brandi claim Denise did? After they banged, what happened? They had some scissor action. They did some slizzer, gobble me, swallow me, drip down the side of me, quick jump out for you, let it get inside of me. And then Denise did what? No hickeys. I won once. Well, honorary win, yes. G. Ghosted her. That's right. Wow, my boy Ollie got it. My boy Ollie. She was ghosted. Not lied. Ghosted. Ghosted was the correct answer. My boy Ollie got it. Okay, question number 10. Also on the topic of Denise Richards. Make sure she didn't tell her husband. Also true, but before that, she ghosted Brandi. At BravoCon, what did Denise tell the ladies to do to her? Or what did Denise what did Denise ask the ladies to do? Gobble me, swallow me, drip down the side of me, quick jump out for you, let it get inside of me. She asked them to do what to her what? Sit on my face, that's right. L.A. Hale. L.A. Hale 2. Sit on my face. That is correct. Dun, dun, dun. I loved it. I love it. You got it correctly. L.A. Hale. La Hale. She wanted them to sit on her face. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, final question. Final answer. Who was the final housewife quoted in the Beverly Hills chapter? Who was the housewife to get the final quote in the Beverly Hills chapter? It's hard drinking and playing, but that's the fun of it. Suki. Erika. That's right, Storm Doris. Oh my God, I love it. Storm, you are the winner. You are the winner tonight. Congrats to Storm Doris for getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 11 points. You go, Storm Doris. You go, Glen Coco. I love it. Thank you guys for playing tonight. I appreciate all of the time and energy that you give me. If you haven't gotten a copy yet of Not All Diamonds and Rosé, it is available on my Amazon storefront. You can go to amazon.com/shop/Zack Peter. Amazon.com/shop/Zack Peter, and you can order any of our books in Book Club, as well as other fun items and collections that I put together in my storefront on Amazon. Not All Diamonds and Rosé by Dave Quinn is out now. You can get yourself a copy. If you buy it through my Amazon storefront, you do support the podcast. And we go live every Tuesday nights at 6:30 p.m. Pacific, 9:30 Eastern. We have to start thinking about what the next book is going to be. We have to decide that this week. That way we can order it and start reading our chapters. But next week, we will break down the final 3 sections 7, 8, and 9. 7, 8, and 9, which are Miami, Dallas, and Potomac. Those would be the final 3 in book club, and we'll review them all next Tuesday. All 3 short chapters. There you go, guys. Storm Doors, thank you so much for playing. Congrats on winning. You know the drill. Slide into my DMs. And yeah, slide into my DMs and I'll send you a no filter cap. Because that's a cute vibe and you're going to want to make sure you stay nice and cozy with that. So slide into my DMs once again with your address, please. Thank you, Storm. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. If you haven't done so yet, grab your copy of All Diamonds and Rosé and get ready. Read your chapters for next week. Portia came out with the book. Say what? I didn't even know about that. All right. Yeah. Thank you guys. I'm doing a Q&A. I'm going to eat dinner right now, but I'm doing a Q&A. I posted a Q&A on the Instagram stories. So if you have a question for me that you want me to answer, you can ask it there. Maybe I'll do after party in a little bit, but let me eat first, okay? Love you guys. Mean it. Appreciate it. Mwah.